Yeah, just tapping on. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Recovery Plugs, where we trade in our dope plugs for recovery plugs. My new guest, Mr. Russ Quinn. What's up, dude?
Thanks for having me, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's got an amazing story, and I can't wait to hear it. And I'm sure he can't wait to tell it. So, go on with it. Let's hear it.
Right. So, I thought I had a pretty normal childhood growing up. Until, probably I knew what was going on. I think we moved about every year. I remember that a lot. I remember when my parents got divorced, and that was pretty traumatizing to me at the age of 7 or 8, was left with my father for a while, and then, ended up moving in with my mom. That's when things got kind of weird and funny in my life. I was the oldest out of, 4 siblings. So, I guess I always felt like, I was supposed to be in control and have everything together growing up. I think I finally realized, both my parents were addicts. My dad drank a lot when I was younger. Mm-hmm. He did end up quitting. My mom was an alcoholic. After that divorce, I remember moving in with my mom, and she married my stepdad. He was pretty abusive. I seen him abuse my mom a lot. She was a stripper at that time, and before that was kind of hidden from us. Didn't figure it out until years later. I think that's kind of when, my life started falling apart. My dad kind of let me do whatever I wanted, and then when they got a divorce, I moved in with my mom. They kind of tried to keep me on a leash, my stepdad and mom, and at that time, they already had, I had it instilled in me already that I could pretty much do whatever I wanted, So they tried to, buckle down on me, and of course I ran away. I was 11 or 12, old skater kid. I'd run over to my dad's. He lived in Gladstone, and he'd shack me up however long I wanted until I went back to my mom's. I remember when my youth started, finding, some pot under my dad's seat, the car, in his little tray. And, I'd skate up to my buddies up the street, and we'd get high. He never spanked me or anything, not once in his life, never laid a hand on me, He tried to reason with me, but, I ran off a lot, 11 and 12. I was pretty angry about the whole situation. And that's when my youth started, I skated all over town, and I remember one day being over in Clay Como. I'd skate over there because I had my first kid's mom lived in Clay Como, and had the bright idea that I'd steal a car from the Ford plant. My buddy lived in the trailer court next door. Took a license plate off, just broke the wing out of a truck. Took it for a joyride, and it landed me. It landed me about a year and a half in the juvenile system. That's when I knew things were bad. I hadn't hit bottom yet, of course.
Right.
I was still kind of angry and upset about stuff. They sent me to Clay County. It was just a little basement there for about 5 or 6 months. I went to a few different group homes. They finally sent me to Watkins Mill for 7 or 8 months. And, of course I didn't use it there, but I was pretty angry still about everything, about my life and how things had inspired at the time. I remember getting out, and I was just back to the same old thing, man. Living at my mother's house, back to her house, and I just remember living, throughout my high school years, I remember we lived in the biggest house, but I was the poorest kid, you know. Nobody else really knew that except by the way I dressed. Got poked fun at a lot, you know, throughout school. I was a little bit of a rebel, you know, but my youth continued. I remember smoking pot through high school, and finally my mom got rid of her stepdad, and that's when stuff really got pretty crazy in that big old house on Vivian Road. She just let me run whoever I wanted in and out of there, you know, and it was just like a big party trap house, you know. That's what I turned it into, and I met a lot of guys that sold a lot of pot, sold a lot of acid, you know. I got involved in all that, and you know, I just remember burning everything to the ground, quitting school. High school, I had got my kid's mother pregnant. I think I dropped out at the beginning of my senior year, and all I did was sit around that big old house and sell pot to everybody. You know, they finally kicked it in and took it, and I remember just being on the streets. It did catch up with me, though. You know, I got a couple charges for sales of a controlled substance then. You know, I thought I was a big-time little baller then, you know. That's what I thought, and that landed me, you know, some probation in Clay County. And, man, for the life of me, I couldn't walk it down. I couldn't quit smoking pot, you know. Didn't matter, you know, they dropped on me all the time. I remember, you know, them giving me shock in Clay County. Gosh, I remember they let me out, and first night, you know, and before that I'd messed with, you know, little amphetamines here and there before that. You know, they let me out after a few months, and shit, that night I was drinking a fifth and snorting lines. I went into probation the next day, thought I was okay, but boy, they smelt me, you know. Sent me to St. Joe for 4 months. I did get my head out of my ass for a little bit, you know. For a couple of years I did good after they let me out. I worked a little siding job. But you know, that pattern did continue, you know. I ended up doing 4.5 years on a 5-year sentence. I went in when I was 19. You know, I turned about 1.5 years into 4 years because I was still angry.
Right.
You know, authorities, I hated them. I mean, you just name it. I mean, I learned how to tattoo in there. I'd been drawing for quite a while. You know, I walked around there like I was a king because I was a tattoo guy, you know. And that was pretty addicting to me too, you know. That manifested in me, you know, thinking I could do whatever I want. They finally sent me to Cameron, you know, and I, you know, I'd been in for a couple, 2-3 years, and I'm like, oh, well, you know, what's a joint gonna hurt? In R&O, you know, drop on me the next day, you know, CR me. I got out though finally when I was about 23 or 24, and I did okay for a couple years. You know, I just did a little bit of drinking, but it was the same routine over and over. You know, I'd drink a little bit. Next thing you know, I'd fall back into the amphetamines. You know, I remember growing up, my dad, he went to work every day. You know, and he smoked pot, man, and when he had to quit, he quit. You know, he made it look easy. You know, that's just. I thought I could do that. You know what I'm saying? I could never get a grip on anything. It was never enough for me. You know, I've been an extremist since I can remember. But you know, after I did get out, finally, you know, I realized that, you know, I did have a problem. I knew that I was an addict. I knew that I was an alcoholic. I'd come to that conclusion then, that something was off with me. Something was wrong with me, man. But it was still tough for me, you know. I fell back into it. I fell back into it so much, you know, I moved away from up north there. That's where I'm from, is from up north, you know. I moved out south here for 10 years, man, and messed around. Because if you're from Kansas City, you know, everything's out south.
Yeah.
You know, and I did the same thing my parents did, man. Every year I moved to a different place. You know, I've lived everywhere out here: Grandview, Eastwood Traffic Way, 33rd, Independence, couple places here in Independence, Northeast. I mean, you name it, man. Every year I moved, I was doing the same pattern that my parents did. You know. I did have, you know, my son, and I did have my son and my daughter in that mix too, you know. And was I a very good father? No, I wasn't, you know, in my youth. I hid from them a lot, you know, like I hid from my family. That's why I moved out south, so everyone would leave me alone, you know. It was, you know, I remember talking to someone the other day, and they came and got a tattoo, you know, and they were talking about their people. She relapsed and she came back, and she, you know, she was talking about she didn't know that there was another way, and I didn't know there was another way.
All right.
You know, I never knew that there was another way. I didn't think that I had a choice in the matter. People that were successful and went to work every day and all that. I mean, that was beyond me. I had no clue that was even possible. I mean, I couldn't fathom that. I felt so bad about myself for so many years. You know, I just continued to beat myself down and tell myself I wasn't good enough. And you know, I believed it, man. Mm-hmm. I truly believed it. You know, I believed that I didn't deserve a good life. I believed that I didn't deserve a good girlfriend. I believed that, you know, I believed the guy didn't love me even. You know what I'm saying? I was cursed, I felt. You know, in that 10-year mix from about 20 to 30, I did manage to catch a couple more felonies, and I went back, you know, for about 8 months, and you know, I didn't learn again. I got out, did the same thing, you know, and it always progressed. When I remember sitting in for my second time down, and I was like, well, it's been 10 years. I did pretty good. I did a good 10-year run, you know, and man, you know, I didn't have a license for years. You know, they throw me in jail every other month for driving on suspended, man. You know, I called jail a second home, man. That's what I felt like, you know. And now I look back on it, you know, I mean, jail saved my life, man.
Definitely a place to get your mind right.
It saved my life, you know, so many times. You know, I got to be friends with a couple correctional officers in Clay County because that was my common spot. I've been there over 50 times in my, you know, in my lifetime. I mean, that's a lot. And a lot of them was just little misdemeanors and traffic tickets, but you know, some of them were felonies. Gosh, the mess, you know, it makes me sad and depressed when I think about the mess.
So let's talk about where it changed. When did you decide enough was enough?
You know, I was living down here in Independence, and I'd got in trouble for my third time, was facing my third time, got in a little trouble over in Kansas, got a possession charge. They put me on house arrest. I lived over here in Independence. I had an ankle bracelet on for Kansas. At the same time, I was fighting another felony here in Clay County. So they put an ankle bracelet on my other leg for Missouri. You know, I'm sitting down here in at my house here in Independence, you know, and I'm looking down. I got 2 ankle bracelets on. They won't even let me go to work, you know. I'm babysitting Stella, you know, one of my little girls, and I had about a month of sobriety, and it had been years since I got that. And I remember babysitting her, and God, being a dad was being a dad then was amazing to me. And I really wanted that, you know. Really wanted that. Of course, I sat down there, you know, for 3 or 4 weeks and got high again and messed it all up. So they sent me to Clay County, you know, and I sat in there 50th first time, and I sat there for 8 months, and you know, I almost considered just going back for the 3rd time, but you know, I was facing a couple 7s, ran wild, and you know, my lawyer's like, hey man, you know, I can get you this Clay County drug court, and I said, I'll do whatever it takes. You know, I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes. I want to get out and be normal, and be a normal person. And what really changed me, Chris from drug court, my counselor came up, and you know, I was crying to him like, hey man, you know, there's been in there 8 months. Hey, there's nothing more I want than to clean my life up. And he said, hey, you know what? I think he was, you know, 45 at the time, 46. He said, you know, I got clean when I was 38. And you know, that's how old I was. He said, I got clean when I was 38. It can be done. You know, I've been clean now for years. I'm a drug counselor. And that little glimpse of hope, man, you know, that was my hope. That I said, man, you know, I think I can do this, you know. And they didn't want to give it to me at first, you know, because my record, you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. They had never, you know, let anyone in that had so many charges like me and so many chances like me, and for some reason they decided to give me a chance. And that was my turning point, you know. I got out and I did exactly what they said, man. I just surrendered. I surrendered. You know, told me to go to meetings every day, and you know, I had just a crazy tight schedule. You know, they dropped on me every other day, and I did that, you know, for a year and a half. Drug court, it really was the beginning of what my turning point, saved my life. You know, they taught me how to live it, how to be a person again. You know, because I didn't know, you know, how to go to work, how to manage time, you know, how to manage my checkbook, you know, everything, you know. I went to meetings and I heard a lot of good things that I heard. You know, I'd go to AA and NA off and on. Of course, I leaned on Narcotics Anonymous because I knew that, you know, my addiction was more than just drinking. You know, I like it all. Right. I'd have to say that was my big turning point. And I had a little bitty apartment finally, and my girls came over, and I got to be a dad, and I sat down and watched TV with them every night, you know, and fed them and ate and did normal things, got to play with them, and I'd never known this life before. Never knew it was possible, you know. And then, you know, during that, I decided that I would, you know, try to open up a tattoo shop again for the 3rd time. You know, the last 2 I'd lost, I mean, they weren't doing great, but I wasn't going to lose them, you know. I went to jail and lost them, you know. I said, man, maybe I can do this, you know. So that first year and a half, you know, drug court, lots of counseling. God played an important part in my life also, you know. And you know, I learned how to pray, and I learned how to, you know, ask for forgiveness, and I learned, you know, how to be responsible, how to be a person, all these things when I was in drug court, you know, through my counselor, through Narcotics Anonymous, through, you know, everybody in church. And I think I got the hang of things finally, and I got my head out of my ass, and gosh, you know, when I quit putting fucked up shit in my body, man, I turned into a whole different person. I didn't even know who I was. I didn't know what my purpose in life was. I didn't know, you know, I didn't know anything. You know, I didn't know how to be a dad. My first 5 or 6 months, I remember calling my sponsor like, man, these kids are yelling. I don't know what to do. You know, and he's like, you know, just take a deep breath, man. It's going to be okay. You know, I had to relearn everything. But I did, you know, and I made it through it.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome. Well, we got some questions for you.
Okay.
From some people. Some of them you kind of answered already. Some of them you didn't. Man, it's awesome, man. I remember I met you a few times during your run, and yeah, definitely it's amazing seeing what you become, dude. I envy you in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and let me say, you know, I can't stress enough. You know, before you start asking me questions, the blessings of recovery, man. The blessings that God showers me with on a daily basis. I literally wake up every morning and I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I did it. I still don't know sometimes. You know, all the shiny shit I ever wanted in my life I got now, you know? All the love of my children that I ever wanted I have. Man, I got married for the first time ever. My wife's awesome. She's in recovery. I mean, I'm just so blessed, you know? A very successful tattoo shop. I went from just being an average Joe tattoo artist to, you know, stepping my game up in my tattoo career and being a very well-known, respected artist here in Kansas City too. Doing good stuff for once, you know? Yeah, and I'm still hungry every day, you know, when it comes to, you know, just being better and learning, you know, learning how to be a better dad, learning how to love myself better, learning how to be a better husband, learning how to be a better father, learning how to, you know, praise God better. All that stuff comes into play. I literally wake up every morning, I drive to work, and I walk into my fancy fucking tattoo shop, and I'm like, holy shit. I cannot believe this is happening. You know, and on top of that, you know, every artist there except one person, I get to teach how to tattoo. I get to take what I know and give it to somebody else, a career, and, you know, watch them grow and blossom as a person, as an artist. You know, like you do with your kids. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing. You know, I mean. And my kids, you know, between me and my wife, we've got 9 kids. 2 are out of the house. And, you know, I walk into the house every night and I'm like, you know, wow. They're all coming from each way, you know, and you know, they all got their different characters and gosh, you know, I'm so blessed, you know, and they all love the shit out of me now, you know. I walk in every night and, you know, I've got 3 girls screaming daddy. That's fucking amazing. Never in my life would I ever think that I'd hear that someone, and you know, and my wife's there, you know, greeting me, and my youngest son's there with a smile on his face, and you know, I got to teach my wife how to tattoo. I you know, she sits beside me every day, and we have pretty much the same schedule. And she's killing it, amazing in her career. Gosh, you know, I feel, you know, you know, like 2%, man, like from rags to riches. You know, it's just wild, and I'm so blessed. The blessings of recovery. God he shows me different little signs every day about how blessed I am. The relationships that I have today with my friends and my family are beyond me, and I'm not, and I didn't do all this. This isn't all me, God has his hand on me, man. And that's how I feel about it, I turn my will over all the time, every day, man. And, I'm just one of his children. I'm just a tool, and I'm just trying to make a difference in this world. And I hope that I am now, do I still struggle with things? Yeah, I'm not perfect, Do I still make mistakes every day? Of course I do, Do I try to learn from them? I try to learn from them nowadays, and I try to correct them. But all in all, man, I'm super blessed, man. Super blessed.
That's awesome, dude. Blessed is an understatement for sure. So let's get into some real stuff here. Some things that people need to know. Like, what has been your biggest obstacle to overcome in recovery? Nick C wants to know this.
Biggest obstacle to overcome. Mm-hmm. Oh, Nick C. Well, he knows what it is. He probably struggles in an area too. Pride. Don't we all struggle with that? That pride gets in the way, man, all the time. And, that pride, makes me look some type of way, makes me make wrong decisions a lot of the time, makes me not making amends when I need to. You let stuff get to your head, and pride is a huge one. I still struggle with that. That's one of the biggest ones that I've been trying to work on lately, pride, and to try to be humble,
I told a story once about how my pride saved my life, actually.
Right.
So this is Tommy. He wants to know, what is the one thing that you would tell the newcomer that made the biggest impact in your early recovery?
The biggest impact. Early in my recovery, I remember sitting in church, AA, NA, different places like that. I remember looking around, and I was still miserable because I didn't know me. But everybody was so happy, and I wanted that. It was attractive to me. They were laughing, they were happy, they seemed in control, especially like in Narcotics Anonymous, when I'd sit in those halls, the old timers, they were happy and they lived a normal life, and man, that was just super attractive to me. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
Super attractive to me. Yeah, that made a huge impact on me.
Men smiling every day was something that was not used to seeing, dude. Like,
right.
You're smiling. Like, most of the men I grew up watching were all mean mugging 24/7.
Right.
How do you handle the amends process? This dude named Philip Branch wants to know. I don't know if you know him or not.
Amends.
Do you know Philip Branch?
I know Philip Branch.
He wants to know how you handle the amends process. And a lot of us, this is another thing of that pride thing. Being able
Making an amends is... Gosh, you guys know. Philip, you know. Making amends is a tough one, man.
It's more than pride.
I'm either like this, like especially with my wife, I either just get it out right then and there, make the amends, or my pride gets in the way. And then I hold it in. And then it usually just eats me up, And, you know, sometimes I can brush it off, but most of the time I got to come back to it and be like, you know what? I was fucked up, man. I was wrong. I shouldn't have did that the other day, and I'm sorry, you know? Do I do it all the time? No. I still got a lot of work to do in that area.
So you know Becky Pellman?
I do.
She kind of has an opposite question of how do you maneuver around your self-doubt?
Ooh, self-doubt. Self-doubt's still a tough one for me, you know? When it comes to self-doubt, man, you know, sometimes you got to fake it to make it, I believe. And when I'm really struggling with it, what else can I do but turn it over to God? I can't do anything else but turn it over. And whenever I turn it over, like I turn my will over, He makes it happen for me.
That's what's up.
And comforts me.
That's a good answer. Mike Thomas. He said, at what moment did you realize that your addiction had your talent handicapped?
Whew, that's a good one, Mike.
I know. He came up with some good ones.
Mike, that's a good one. You know what, Mike? I didn't even realize that it had handicapped my talent until I was about a year or a year and a half clean. And I had opened up that shop, and I was comparing myself to all these other artists that have been tattooing as long as me. And I had seen how stagnant I had been in my career for years. You know, the past couple years, I've been trying to make up for lost time, man. But I did not realize until about a year and a half in that you know, I had to make a change.
You said, but did you ever imagine that your talent would end up giving you a positive energy that would give you a family full of blessings?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Enrique wants to know, what does it mean for you now to be a good son?
Whew. I mean, that one hits pretty hard for me in a couple ways. When it comes to God, you know, I know that being a good son is I know He sees me. When it comes to my father, gosh, you know, I was still heavy in my youth when he passed. But it means the world to me because I know that, you know, every day He's watching down on me, and that means the world to me. To know that I'm the man today that He always wanted me to be.
What's up, dude? Rick Quinn. Rick Quinn, is that your brother?
That's my uncle.
It's your uncle?
It's my dad's brother.
He wants to know how big of a role did God play in your recovery? I'd say you've been talking a lot about it, but yeah.
You know, my Uncle Rick is big impact in my life right now. I couldn't even, you know, after my dad passed, I couldn't even talk to him the first few years because he just looked just like my dad. And he knows, and everybody else knows, the impact that God's made in my life. Like I've said repeatedly, I wake up every morning, thank Him. I'm blessed. You know, without Him in my life, I definitely would not be who or where I am today. Not even close.
It's true. I'll agree with you on that.
For sure.
Stephanie Quinn.
Nah,
Who's that?
it's my cousin.
Your cousin. She wants to know what has been your most surprising viewpoint or mindset that has changed since being in recovery.
Gosh, that's a tough one. Repeat that for me again.
Your most surprising viewpoint or your mindset that's changed. Like, what about you has changed that surprised you? Something about the way you think, or
surprisingly, how I used to be like with my kids and being locked up and all that, that I never understood, the abandonment and stuff like that. Now the roles are reversed, I have a couple, 3 kids' mothers, and one's locked up, one goes out there sometimes. Now I'm in the position, that I never thought I'd be in, as far as being a father and a parent goes. Now I see both sides, and I'm blessed to have looked at that full circle now, but I never thought I'd be in that position before.
Audrey, you know her?
Think so.
She wants to know what's the one thing that what is one thing, not the one thing, what is one thing that the rooms have taught you that you apply now to your everyday life?
The rooms of Narcotics Anonymous play a huge role in my life. It taught me how to live, taught me how to be a man, taught me how to be a father, taught me how to be a business owner, taught me how to pray, taught me how to seek help. I can go on and on. Still to this day, I frequent the rooms in Narcotics Anonymous. The rooms, I probably will never leave the rooms,
So one of the questions that I've had, and something, because I've watched you grow and I've watched you become a parent, not to just one kid, to 2 kids, but to nine kids. And I've watched you grow a successful business, and when I say successful, I mean successful. You're doing outstanding. How in the world do you juggle being a successful business owner and 9 children? And how do you do it?
Me and my best friend, teammate, and my wife do it together.
See, and there it is, man.
We do it together.
You have a partner. That's awesome, man. You guys are awesome, man. I watch you. It's amazing. Very inspiring, dude. Very inspiring.
It's a lot of time management, of course. There's a routine. I think at the end of the day, when I lay my head down at night, I want to brag about what all I've done that day and accomplished, because between me and my wife, it's usually more than most people will ever have to do in one day, just to be able to juggle all that. But I'm super blessed to be able to do it every day, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
It's amazing, dude. Proud of you, bro. Really am. Really am. Like, I met this dude 20 years ago in prison, and I think we were both. You were probably 20, 19, something. I was 18.
Yeah.
19. Yeah, long time ago.
Yes, and I've, in my use, I frequented your house a little bit too.
Yeah.
And
good times.
Let me just say, the man that I've seen you grow up into too, man. I'm super proud of you, man.
I know. Thank you, Jesus.
I am super, super proud of you, man.
So, is there anything you want to tell anybody before you go? First of all, are you available if someone needs to talk to you about recovery, or if they see this and they're like, hey, you know what? I can relate to this dude. How can I get a hold of him?
Yeah, you know, I'm definitely always available, and I always lend an ear to anyone that needs it, any advice. I personally don't have any sponsees right now, just because I've tried to juggle everything. Not saying that I wouldn't do it.
Right.
But I'm definitely available anytime, at any moment, except from about 10 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning.
When the phone goes, I already know, bro.
Right.
I already know. Man, thanks for coming, bro.
Yep.
I love you so much, man.
You too, man. Super.
That's it.